Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Jacinta. If this is the first time here, thank you for stopping by. In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys how to cut and sew this gathered dress with ruffles. If you're not interested in learning, kindly watch till the end. And if you're yet to subscribe, please hit on the subscribe button below and also turn on your notification bell so you get notified whenever I upload a new video. So without wasting much time, let's get started with the tutorial. Starting off with the front pattern drafting, from the tip of my pattern paper, I'll come downwards by 2 inches, make a mark there and square across, and I'll level that my top line. Placing my tape on my top line, which is also the shoulder line, I'm going to mark 9.5 inches downwards, which is the bust line I'm making use of. I will also mark 16 inches. 16 inches is the half length plus half inch. The half inch I'm using is 15.5 inches plus half inch for joining of the down part, making it 16 inches. So I'll mark 16 inches and I will square across and I will label these lines. Placing my tape on the top line, I will mark half of my shoulder measurement, which is 8 inches. And on that 8 inches line, I'm going to come downwards by 1.5 inches for my shoulder slant. I'll also mark 3 inches neck width inwards on the shoulder line. I will connect from that 3 inches neck width to the 1.5 inches I came down by for the shoulder slant. Placing my tape on the 1.5 inches I came down by, I'm going to mark 7 inches downwards for the armhole level. I will connect with a straight line like this. On the point where the armhole level ended, I'm going to extend the line outwards, and that is going to be my chest line. I'll mark the midpoint of this straight line, and then that midpoint I'm going to come in by ½ inch. Then on the chest line, I'm going to mark quarter of my bust circumference, and I'm going to use my curved ruler to connect from the quarter of my bust circumference that I marked on the chest line to the ½ inch I came in by to the 1.5 inches shoulder slope. The next thing I'm going to mark now is the dart. Placing my tape on the bust line, I'm going to come inwards by 4 inches, which is half of my bust part. That is my nipple to nipple measurement. So I'm going to mark 4 inches inwards on the bust line and also on the half length, and I'll connect with a straight line. Then on the half length, I'm going to come in by ½ inch on both sides of the dart line and then connect it to the 4 inches I marked on the bust line. Now I'm going to draw my bust circle. 2 ways you can do this is either you use the compass. You place your compass on this 4 inches line on the bust line and draw a circle round. And while drawing the circle, make sure that the distance from the compass mouth to your pencil is 4 inches. Don't just draw any size of circle. It should be 4 inches because that is your nipple to nipple measurement. Or you place your tape. You place your tape on the 4 inches line that we marked on the bust line, and you keep marking 4 inches round. Your tape should be on that point, on that 4 inches line that we marked on the bust line, and you just keep drawing you keep marking 4 inches round with a dotted line. Then after marking, you're going to connect all the lines. So that is what I'm doing now. I was done drawing the bust circle. What I'm going to do now is to draw my under bust line. To do this, I'll place my tape on the half length and I will take the measurements from a half length to under the bust circle. So what I got is 3 inches, and I will keep marking that 3 inches like this, and after that I will square across and I'll label that the under bust line. To tighten my underbust from this dart line, I'm going to mark ½ inch on both sides and then connect it upwards to the bust point and downwards to the half length like this. What I'm going to do now is to divide my round body measurements and mark. So on the chest line, I'm going to mark quarter of my bust circumference and I will add extra 1.5 inch. Same thing on the bust line. On the under bust line, I will divide my under bust circumference by 4 and mark, and I'll add extra 1.5 inch for sewing allowance, and I'm going to replace this dart that I took. I'll do exactly the same thing on the half length. I'll divide my waist circumference by 4, and I'm also going to add 1.5 inch and replace the 1 inch dart. After marking this point, I'm going to connect all these marks with my ruler. Now I'm going to mark the side bust dart. To do this, I will place my tape on my bust line and mark 2 inches downwards. Then I'm going to use my ruler to connect from that 2 inches to my bust point this way. What I'm going to do now is to draw the bust line. To do this, I'll place my tape on my half length at the center front and come downwards by 3 inches. Then I'm going to connect that 3 inches to the measurement I marked on the half length this way. I'm just going to cut this out so that I'll have space on my table. What I will do now is to find the midpoint of my shoulder slant and connect it to the bust points like this. I'll fold the 2 inches bust dart that I marked to meet the bust line like this, and then I'm going to get the midpoint and slash it open. I'll also slash open the line that I drew from the shoulder to the bust so that I can properly close the side dart and you hold it down with my masking tape. I will divide this opening in half at the shoulder slant, and whatever I get, I'm going to divide it by 2 and mark it on this side of the shoulder slant. Then reconnect it to the bust point with my curved ruler. Ignore the second line, it's not relevant. I will remove the masking tape and close my pattern paper to this line I've just drawn. This is a form of taking a dart at the upper part to avoid any form of gaping. I will use my masking tape to hold it down. Because this is a tube, I'm going to come upwards by 1 inch on the bust line. At the center front, I'm going to come upwards by 2 inches from the bust line. This one depends totally on what you want. If you want it very deep, you can go down. If you want it high, you can go up. And I'm going to connect it to the 1 inch I marked on the side front. Go ahead and do yours just like the way you see me doing. I will remove the masking tape now and place it back at the side dart. I'm going to cut it out now. Please take note that I extended the dart line to the basque line, as you can see. So I'm cutting the center front, after which I will cut the side front. Please watch closely and see how I did the cutting so you won't cut the wrong line. I was done cutting the upper front pattern. I'm going to draft and cut the upper back pattern now. I've marked 2 inches from the tip of my pattern paper. I'm going to label that the top line. Placing my tape on the top line, I'm going to mark 9.5 inches downwards, and I've also mark 14 inches, which is my back half length plus half inch. I will square across and label the lines. On the top line, I'll mark half of my shoulder measurement. I'll also mark 3 inches inwards for the neck width. On the point where the shoulder measurement ended, I'm going to come down by 1.5 inches for the shoulder slope, then connect it to the 3 inches neck width. Placing my tape on the 1.5 inches I came down by, I will mark 7 inches downwards for the armhole level, and I'll connect with a straight line. On the point where the armhole level ended, I will extend the line and label that my chest line. I'll mark the midpoint of this straight line, then on that midpoint I'll come in by half inch. Then on the chest line, I will mark quarter of my bust circumference, then use my armhole curve to connect from my shoulder slope to the half inch I came in by to quarter of my bust circumference that I marked on the chest line to form my armhole curve. I will mark half of my bust span of 4 inches on the bust line and half length and connect with a straight line. I'll extend the dart line upwards by 2 inches and reconnect. Then on the half length, I will come in by half inch on both sides of the dart line and connect it to the 4 inches I mark upwards like this. I will mark the midpoint of my shoulder slant and connect it to the dart line. I'll mark quarter of my bust circumference on the bust line and add extra 1.5 inch sewing allowance. On the half length, I will mark quarter of my waist circumference. I will replace the 1 inch dart and add 1.5 inch sewing allowance and connect with my ruler. I will come upwards by 1 inch from the bust line at the side back and then connect it to the center back bust line with my ruler like this. You can as well give your back any shape you want. On the half length, I'll come in by half inch to avoid any form of zipper bulge and reconnect it to the top line like this. And I'm going to add that half inch back on the side and reconnect. Then I'll go ahead and cut this out. I'm done cutting the front and back pattern. Go ahead now and cut it on my fabric. I'm removing this half inch I added on the basque area because it is not supposed to be there. Since I've added half inch on the on my half length. So I'm going to cut each of these pattern pieces on fold twice, because I'll be using the crepe fabric as the lining. While cutting, the only allowance you're going to add is ½ inch on the upper part for turning, and ½ inch on the dart area for joining of the pieces together. I'll do this off camera and be back. For the gather down part, it's going to be a straight long fabric that will gather at the upper part and fold the down part. So I've gone ahead to fold my fabric like this, and I'm going to impute my desired length. So I've minus the half length I am using and impute the gown length. For the wideness, I folded my entire fabric because I want it to be full. You can add hard net if you want a very fuller gathers. Minusing the half length from the full length, I have 28 inches left, and I'm adding extra 2 inches, making it 30 inches. 1.5 inches for folding and ½ inches for joining. So I'm going to mark this 30 inches and cut this out. I was done cutting the down part and the upper part, as you can see. So I'm going to iron my hairstay to each of the upper part pieces. So I'll do that off camera and be back. This is the bra cup I'll be using, and I was done ironing my hairstay to each of my pieces, both the front and the back, and the lining and the main fabric. I'm going to start joining all the pieces, starting with the front piece. I'll join the center front and the side front together using ½ inch. Please indicate the lining and the main fabric so you won't be confused. So I'll join the center front and the side front using ½ inch. I'll do this for the main fabric and the lining. I will do exactly the same for the back. I will join the center back and the side back together using ½ inch, both the lining and the main fabric. I will open press the seams after joining. I was done joining and I've open pressed it, and this is what it looks like. What I'm going to do now is to attach the bra cup. So I'll be doing this on my lining. I'm going to place the two bra cup at the underbust this way. If you don't know exactly where your underbust is, you can get it from your pattern. Just place your tape at the half length and measure upwards to the underbust line. Then you mark the same measurements on this part where you join the two front pieces together. Mark the two sides. Then you take your bra cup and fold this into two and notch the center of the upper part and the lower part. After notching, you place it at the underbust where you've marked, and you pin it. Use your pin to hold it there. I'll go back to my machine now and sew on the place I held with pin, both on the upper part and the lower part. After which, I'll place the lining on the main fabric front facing front and use ½ inch to turn the neck line and the armhole area. Then the two sides, I'm also going to use ½ inch to sew it. I'll do exactly the same for the back. I'll place the fabric and the lining of the back front facing front. I use ½ inch to join the upper part and the sides, leaving the down part and the zip area open. I'll do this for the two back piece. I was done joining the front and back piece, and I've also gone ahead to iron them, and this is what it looks like. What I'm going to do now is to join the back piece to the front piece using 1 inch, because that is the allowance we have left. I'm going to pin it side to side, then go over to my machine and join it. I was done joining, and this is what it looks like. What I'm going to do now is to fold the hem of the skirt part and gather the upper part. I was done with that, and this is it. What I'm going to do now is to join the skirt part and the upper part together. To do this, I'll place them front facing front and sew with ½ inch. While sewing it, I'm going to be moving the gathers so that one part will not be fuller than the other. So you see the way I'm shifting the gathers, go ahead and do yours that way so that it will come out perfectly. I was done joining the gathers, and this is what it looks like. You can see how beautiful and full it came out. What I will do next is to attach the zip. So we have 1 inch at the back for the zip allowance. The zip will stop at 2 inches below the upper part from where the gather started. So the remaining part, I'm going to close it with 1 inch. This is the organza fabric I'll be using for the ruffles, and I have 4 yards here. 2 for one sleeve, 2 for the other sleeve. You can use 2 yards though. I wanted the sleeves to be very full. That was why I got 4 yards. I folded into 2 and marked 10 inches and cut it out. After cutting it out, I will fold the organza into 2 again and use it to cut the second one, the third one, and the fourth one. After cutting the 4 pieces, I'm going to join 2. I'll join 2 like this, and I'm also going to join 2 for the second sleeve. I'll fold it into 2 like this, and I'll use 1/2 inch to close this open side. I will start from the top and sew it all the way down. I was not sewing. What I'm going to do now is to trim the excess, that is the allowance that I used to sew it, so that when I turn it, it will not be showing. You know, this organza is transparent. Then I'm going to turn it from this small opening I left here. After turning it, I'll go and iron it on a very low heat. Please lower your iron while ironing it. You know how light organza is. After ironing, you're going to use your thread and needle to gather the center. So you make your gathers just like the way you see me doing. After making the gathers, you're going to use your thread and needle to tack it to the dress. Sorry guys, I didn't know my camera was not recording when I was tacking these ruffles to the dress. You just go ahead and tack these ruffles to your dress. You tack one end to the back and the other end to the front. That will be all for the cutting and sewing of this dress. If you find this video helpful and you've learned something new, please hit on the subscribe button, like, share, and drop a comment. What do you think about this dress? It goes a long way to encourage me. Thanks for watching, and see you guys in my next tutorial.